Oh, perfect. Look at that. I like when things work. Paige, can you let people in the channel know too? Happy Friday again, everybody. This is Domingo with Beta, bringing you another episode of Go Live. And this is our second Go Live for today, but we actually have a special guest for this particular episode. So I'm going to wait for them to pop on, but hopefully everybody's having a nice Friday. I know I mentioned this earlier, but we're going to have a very nice hot week here in Austin. We're going to hit the triple digits for the next, I think, week. So it's going to be pure insanity. So hopefully it'll be good. Hey, Mom, how are you? Hey, Jonah. Who else do we got here today? Awesome. Sweet. All right, we got our request in, so let me pop this in here. Go live. All right, everybody. So like I mentioned, I'm Domingo, bringing you an episode of Go Live by Beta, and we are featuring a partner who's going to be in our forum, concept store, Forum by Beta on Melrose in West Hollywood in LA. And I have with us today the founder and co-owner of Island Avenue. It is Favai. Favai, how are you?
Man, I'm great. And yourself, Dom? We ready to break the internet. Let's get it.
I love it. I love it. How are things over there?
It's great. Nice sunny day in California. Can't complain.
That's awesome, man. That's super awesome. Well, we're excited to have you in our stores because I know you're launching obviously at Forum, but I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but you'll be eventually in betas as well, which is super exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely excited. Well, first off, I want to shout out wifey and my son. My son tuning in from, my champ tuning in from Washington. They're definitely the motivation and the inspiration behind Island Ave. Everybody at Beta, including yourself, Ian in New York, Jonah and Kay here, Forum. You guys have been phenomenal with the onboarding process, as well as my guys at the shop. Shout out to all my guys at the shop. My right-hand man, E and C, that have, it's a teamwork type of thing. And, I had to shout everybody else down. I had to do the typical hip hop shout outs before we get going.
That's okay. That's okay. It reminds, it's so funny, like shout outs, stuff like that. They're awesome. I remember, so I won't tell my age, but I do remember when the radio, you'd wait around for them to allow you to call in, and you'd be like, "Hey, I want to dedicate this song to." Yeah. No, I love it. But now it's much easier to do the shout outs and stuff like that.
Sir.
No, I love it, man. This is awesome. So, Favai, I have to say, like, you have a really interesting story, and you have a really great background. How did you land in the apparel business?
Well, I'd attribute the gratitude towards my father. He was actually the first entrepreneur in my family, and he actually launched a painting business. And to this day, he still has that painting business. And so I think he was the one that actually planted the seed. Years ago, we were able to go with him up to, paint these custom homes in Palos Verdes and Manhattan Beach and Hermosa Beach. And I'm gonna be straight up with you. I think my brother and them is watching. I was the worst worker. I'm taking breaks like every 20 minutes. Like I could never get anything done. To this day, I can't even do anything on the job site because I would be constantly dreaming. I'd sit there and I'm like, there's literally a palm tree in the middle of this house. Like, how did they even think of this, right? And to this day, I still have that vision of that house. And so I would constantly, it was more aspirational for me and more motivational to me of how these people have built these lifestyles and the generational wealth for their families. And it's something that I want to do for my wife and my son.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Now, Island Avenue is your name, Island Ave.
Yep.
So what's the story behind that? How did you land on that as a name for your brand?
So we actually went with Island Avenue, and it was actually just inspired by, first off, with streetwear. And so I got into apparel because I was very inspired by good friends of mine that had launched their streetwear brand just down the street from here. Everybody on Fairfax, from the Hundreds to Crooks, especially Crooks and Castles, Diamond. These guys are like legends in the game. Also my guy, Dave West Wing in Long Beach. These are young entrepreneurs that don't really, some of them didn't even have design backgrounds. Some of them don't even have business backgrounds, but they were, bootstrappers, and they went after it with whatever team and whatever resources that they had. So when I saw that and the barrier entry was very low, and I said, you know what, I can actually do that. But the key thing that caught my eye was they were able to tell stories of why they started Diamond, why they started Crooks. And I said, hey, I don't see anybody in streetwear that's telling my story of where I came from and how we had to, get it out the mud, as they say, and how we had to, just overcome so much adversity. No one is telling that story. And so through Island Avenue, I wanted to tell that inspiring story because, as I mentioned to you, Dom, it's more of a, it's not just a Samoan story. It's a human story of us migrating to America and chasing after the American dream. And I wanted to tell that story through Island Ave. And ironically, Island Avenue, the name, is actually through the street that I grew up on in Carson, California. Yeah. So it just so happened that there was like 10 to 12 Samoan families that moved on this one street, and we congregated there. So we got a piece of the island there. We had a piece of culture and family and God. And at one point they were doing like full-blown Samoan ceremonies, like in the middle of the street, like we were on the island, you know? So I got a taste of that, but then it all kind of turned, you know, bad in the, you know, 80s and 90s in Los Angeles and these areas when the gang culture hit. And so that's where it all kind of just went left, you know? And so, but however, through that adversity though, at the core of Island Ave is being able to overcome such extreme adversity and then go on to chase after your dreams and pursue it no matter what. Because I believe that at the core of Island Ave is that inspiring story that we want to continue to tell through apparel.
Yeah. And
you got to slow me down, Don, because I'm going to keep talking.
Dude, this is awesome. Yeah. I mean, and I mean, if you think about it and you talk about adversity, right? Like you could have easily gone down that slippery slope, right? And your path could have been night and day different than what it is now. So kudos to you and, you know, your family for bringing you up and helping you be the man you are today, right?
I appreciate that. Yep.
Now, you guys have been around since 2014, correct?
Yep. 2014 we launched.
So 6 years and short, and a quick but probably long and yet short 6 years. So what's what are some big takeaways that you've had in that time frame, launching your own brand? I know you do your own manufacturing and all that jazz as well. So what are some big takeaways and learnings that you've had in this time frame?
You know, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that I have a sports background as well. My son's up in college now, actually playing football. And so what I noticed that the difference between actual sports and business is there's no off season. And you're at it every day. You know what I mean? And I think that's actually an advantage because if you really look at it, in order for you to succeed in business, it's almost like you're running a marathon now. So I literally designed my whole life for the long game, right? Whether it's the foundation of the company, whether it's the relationships that I build, it's about playing the long game. When we were playing football, it was more, you know, short sprints, because again, football is done between 3 and 4 seconds, right? So with that being said, I noticed that if I'm going to play the long game, I got to make sure that the company in and of itself, the business fundamentals is solid. So I tell everybody that comes to me in terms of, you know, what did you know, like you said, what did you learn in the 6 years? What I did learn was I studied the business model first. And that's what I tell everybody. Although, again, you know how it is every day, there's a quote of the day and Instagram, everyone's telling you this motivational stuff. But I tell people, I say, look, after all the fluff, after all the motivational stuff, at the end of the day, we're in business to make a profit. That you're in business to actually be profitable, right? So when I tell people, whatever you're passionate about, actually you make sure that you're happy doing it, but then study the model. How are you going to build this business to one day pass it on to your kids and create generational wealth and legacy, right? And so that was the one thing before I got into it. I studied how these guys grew their brands to what it is today. Now, again, we launched 6 years ago. Some of those same guys that we launched with aren't around anymore because it was, again, they didn't have those business fundamentals. I studied the business first because the creative stuff is easy. We can create designs. We can do that every day. But no one's telling you how to actually create a team that's going to last 20, 30 years, right? Because most businesses fail within the first year. So I was looking at the long game. What are the pieces to apparel that I have to put together in order for us to be around 10, 20, 30 years? Like Ralph Lauren, 50 years from now. You know, that's a real brand, right? But if you look up under the hood, like, I don't know if you saw the documentary on him, like the fundamentals of his business. And again, he doesn't have a design background as well. So that was even inspiring, right? So it's those fundamentals of business that I learned along the way, being able to respond when you face adversity. Obviously with COVID, we spoke about this, being on the manufacturing side as well as on the clothing line side. We saw like everybody that was doing really well online, they skyrocketed. Everybody that was doing wholesale, what can you do? Like the malls is closed, stores is closed. What are you going to do? How are you going to collect the check? How are you going to collect the PO? There's nothing to collect, right? So we were able to kind of see it from both sides. And so it makes us like plan, like just in case there's a spike, unfortunately, right? How are we going to pivot, right? And I told the team at the shop, I said, look, no matter what, stay in the game. Just like football, like we can't learn any lessons from being on the sideline, right? All the jewels will be done in the game. You got to stay in the game. Do whatever it takes to stay in the game. One guy was like, "No, just get on base. Do whatever it takes. Hit the pitch or do something. Just get on base." You know what I mean? So any of that stuff counts. Like you right? And so before you know it, you know, it was in March, and like before you know it, these orders start coming in, and stuff starts to line up, and you're like, "Oh shoot!" Right? Now you have a formula just in case it happens again. Like, oh, it's about to happen. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to pivot. This is how we're going to go forward. This is what we're going to do with retail. This is what we're going to do with online. Now you have, it sets precedence of how to actually move forward. So those are all these lessons that we learn. But again, football always comes back into it. When you get punched in the mouth, how do you respond? Yeah. Because that's going to determine whether you're going to be around 50 years from now. Because most people can't take the hit. They just get punched and be like, all right, well, I'm done. Well, I wasn't built like that. My son know, wifey know. We fighting. We fighting every day for it. So.
beauty of kids, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, everybody, again, today we have the privilege of having a new partner that we're going to have in our forum by Beta out in West Hollywood. And this is founder and co-owner of Island Ave. This is Favai. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Now, I have to say, your mission statement is really cool. I mean, it's super basic and simple, but very impactful. It's streetwear, giving back to the streets. So tell me, I mean, I kind of feel like I know why, but I need to know why.
So streetwear giving back to the streets is, again, at the core of who I am as a person. Unfortunately, I lost so many family members to the streets, right? So I knew that if, in fact, I was going to build a successful company, some of those profits had to go back to these neighborhoods that suffered the most. Right? Yeah. Ironically, is where a lot of the creativity is coming from, right? Like if you look at hip hop, a lot of that creative energy is coming from there, and hip hop is influencing the world, right? So my goal, just like the Tom Shoe model, was, hey, for whatever T-shirts we sell, hats or whatever, let's take a piece of those profits and give it right back to the people that actually need it, you know? Yeah. And so that's what we've been able to do. I launched a nonprofit on behalf of my older brother who passed away in 1992. It's called the TUT Foundation, TUT. That was actually his nickname in the streets, and we flipped the negative into a positive, and it's an acronym for triumphant under tragedy. That despite whatever you go through, is how do you respond, you know, in such tragic moments. And unfortunately, I've been in extreme environments and around extreme events in my life, but it built me to what I am today. I would never have to go into anything in business that I faced during those years, my upcoming years of losing so many family members to the street and to prison and stuff like that. I would never have to face that again, right? So anything that I face going forward is cake compared to that. So it really built my intestinal fortitude of what I'm going to need to succeed, you know, in business, right? Because all, you know, business guys, they talk a good game, but they're really not going to physically do anything, you know what I mean? So it's cool.
Well, and it's funny because I know, I won't name any names, but I know people who, like, they start their day out with, like, the hardest workouts or the hardest tasks or the hardest whatever, because their thought is, if I start my day out as hard as it can get, there's nothing that can beat me down the rest of the day, no matter if it's mental, physical, emotional. It's, you get in, you do work, and then you bring it on, because at the end of the day, you just got to do the work, right?
Yeah, I do the same thing. People that know me personally, pray, meditate, it was 10 miles a day. I ran 14 a day. So we're doing this 7 days a week. Because once again, it goes back to my theory of, if I'm playing the long game, my lifestyle has to be catered towards the long game, right? So I'm running like literally a half marathon every day, eating, you know what I mean, obviously a vegan diet, because I feel this will put me in the game, because we're playing longevity, right? That's what we want to be in the game for. So, I mean, I'm all that stuff, again, at the end of the day, it prepares you for the journey, right? Because you could talk a good game like, oh, I ran 13 miles or whatever, and then I never see you again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know how it is.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, and, you know, I have to admit, you know, we talked about this the other day, but, you know, you're very much apparel with a purpose.
Yep.
And that very much lives within your mission statement as well. And I know you work with nonprofits there in LA as well, and obviously you have your own society as well. So, like, can you tell us a little bit more about, like, how you got into that, what that looks like?
Yeah, just going back to the give back part, right? And you know, I think they coined it in the industry conscious capitalism, right? I guess it's just a fancy way of saying let's try to give back to these neighborhoods, right?
Yeah.
And so with that being said, I said I because I'm from that place, I noticed that there's certain skill sets that the kids are gonna need going forward. Okay. We talk about AI every day. We talk about what tech is doing, whether it be in real estate, whether it be in apparel. 5G, 6G, 10G, right? What is it? Smart surfaces. What is life going to look like for my son 5, 10, 20 years from now? And that's what I'm preparing for, right? Because everything becomes automated. So the question becomes is, what are the skill sets we're going to teach the kids that they're going to be prepared for 5, 10, 20 years from now? And so stuff on the nonprofit side that we want to be able to do is stocks, coding, and real estate. Teach these kids in the inner city. These are the major skill sets that they're going to need living in the future, so to speak, right? Yes. So these are conversations that I have with wifey and my son, and especially my son. These are, aside from the football stuff, that's easy. But we're talking about stuff. We're talking about assets, right? What is his assets he's going to need to be able to succeed 5, 20, 30, 40, 100 years from now? Those are the type of conversations that, and through the nonprofit part, those are the type of skill sets we want to provide for these underserved communities that normally don't get it. Right, I'm fortunate to stay in Orange County, and I see there's two worlds apart. I see what they provide for their kids there, and they don't provide it in these inner cities. So I want to be able to take a piece of that and give it to the kids that that I think need it. And again, there may be some hidden talents in these inner cities, but they just don't have the resources. Well, what is coding? You know, what is stocks? Like, they just never had the resources. But if I give it to them, you may end up sparking the next Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. It's one of those things where you took your life experiences and you've honed it into a business that you have allowed yourself to not only be inspired by, but to also help to inspire others around you to develop our future. Because at the end of the day, our kids and their friends and the kids of other kids they're all their future, and that's the future. And having entrepreneurs like yourself, knowing that, acknowledging it, and investing in it speaks volumes.
No, I mean, I'm just glad I'm in the position, for one, to be able to be on this platform and share the message, right? Rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. But one of his major quotes was, the highest human act is to inspire. And so because I'm in this position and I've been through so much just personally, and as well as a business owner, if anyone asks these questions, it's my obligation to be able to share it. And that way, whoever it is in the world or whatnot, or even locally, especially from the city of Carson, that they see me and they say, you know what, if I was born and raised here, and despite whatever he went through, this is what he aspired to be, and now look at what we're doing, right? So, and then going back to what I told you, I don't know if that's the next question, but I definitely want to say it. Like in the 80s and 90s, like we could, first off, we had to find a ride to get out here, right? Because you're coming just like 2 worlds away to get to Melrose. And then when we finally get here, obviously we don't have no money, but it was more so just going into that environment and then seeing the clash of the different cultures and the pieces, and it was just like a whole nother world. But what I saw during those times, that we could use fashion to actually express ourselves, especially with so much of the gang stuff going on. And fortunately enough, we didn't go that route. But I noticed that when I put on a certain jacket or certain pants, like I didn't have to say anything. People just saw me from afar and said, wow, I like the way you express yourself with fashion. I'm like, I don't even have to say anything, and I got your attention. This is cool. Right. So that's the inspiration behind Island Ave. I want to be able to create a brand in which when you put it on, there's an emotional connection to it. You feel inspired. You feel motivated. You feel like you're on a yacht. Like, let's set sail. That's the collection. I want you to put it on and feel like, you know what I mean? We're in the south of France in Saint-Tropez, right? So that's where I wanted to go. So you got to slow me down, Dom. I got all day. No,
dude. No, you're fine. You're good. You're good. And again, everybody, we're here with founder and co-owner of Island Ave, Favai. Thank you again for joining us. And I got to ask you, and you mentioned this just a second ago about Melrose, and you went to Melrose to check it out and look at the stuff, but you didn't have the money to do it. But now we have a store, Forum by Beta, that is on Melrose, and you're going to have your products in our stores on Melrose. How does that make you feel? What's that feel like?
Man, well, first off, I mean, it just gratitude, right? That's all I could say. Like, I'm very, very thankful, because it was just a dream, right? At the end of the day, I'm just a small kid from Carson with big dreams, right? And so when we come here, it's like now a brand that was born and bred in the city of Carson, that's Samoan owned, Polynesian owned. Now we get a shot at the big leagues. That's how I always look at it. And because you guys provide this opportunity, it's not just me. That's why I keep telling people, is there's a whole army behind me that's being inspired by what Island Avenue is doing, because I'm taking everybody on this yacht, or even you could say a canoe. And we're going and we're getting these wins, like, right? Like last year was Macy's, and ironically, Beta did the software with Macy's. And then we got the Tilly's deal, right? And then now we're on Melrose and through all the other doors. Like we'll go to Vegas next, with, and Beta's in Caesar's Palace. And also Beta has, we'll go international with the location in Dubai and in Tokyo. Like these are dreams I only had. Like I was just dreaming about doing this. And now like I have a vehicle to be able to express Island Ave through this distribution channel that I'm just so overwhelmed. That's why people, again, all from family and friends, who were like, whoa, like, especially people that grew up in LA, like to see Island Ave go from where it went to here is just a totally, it's a dream come true. And I tell people all the time, like, man, believe in your dreams. And again, I know it gets cliche, but I tell them, man, find your passion, make sure that you're happy about it, but you got to put in the work. There's no way around it. You tell my wife and my son, I'm with the work. We getting it every single day. Like work is what we do to get to where we need to be, right? So by just Island Avenue being on Melrose, it's a win for so many people. It's a win for so many people that's been following Island Ave as a brand. It's a win for the culture. It's a win, for my ancestors that provided me an opportunity to come here, right, and chase the American dream. So I honor their sacrifice, and especially my brother's sacrifice who passed away, and making sure that I live a life that he can be proud of. You know what I mean? And I had a great friend, brother of mine that passed away earlier this year. And ironically, it was him that used to bring me up here too in high school, And so I promised him, like, whatever wins we make, you're going to be there with me, right? Yeah. All my family members that passed on, I'm going to live a life that you can be proud of, that you can say like, man, I'm inspired by the lives that they live, and now I got to keep going. I got to keep inspiring other people, because there's people like Dom that or even my son knows that I couldn't get to, but by inspiring you, you could get to them. And I tell my guys all the time. I tell them all the time, like, I want to help you because there's a whole bunch of people I can't get to, So.
Now, speaking of inspiration, where do you get your inspiration for your designs?
Life in general, movies, music, my family, wife, and my son, just life in general, and a lot of it has been aspirational, right? Of growing up, not having too much, having family, having all the basics, but always saying like, wow, I want that coat. How do they get it? So it was more aspirational. It was a challenge. Like I love certain things. And so it was through movies, through just life in general that I get, it's that, that aspirational, that motivation to actually create these designs. And that's the fun part. So even with the current collection here, that's going to go live tomorrow, okay, in store. So hopefully I see you guys here. And I got to shout out Jonah and Kay again, social distancing and wear the mask. I'm in clothes, so that's why I'm not wearing the mask. But we were launching Let's Set Sail tomorrow. And then because we're on the manufacturing, we're able to launch the Melrose Collection. So even with that, those two collections in and of itself, there's just all this creative energy that we put together to actually say, look, this is why these pieces came together for Melrose, because this was the Melrose culture. This was inspired back in the 80s and 90s. This is what I saw. One of the pieces is a Sade piece. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, she's like, a music icon. Everybody knows her around here, right? Those are the kind of tees I used to see up here. And then on the flip side is Island Ave with the Let's Set Sail collection. And I spoke about our connection as Polynesians to the ocean. We were the first ocean navigators, right? That we reached actually thousands of years going throughout thousands of miles throughout the Pacific just by navigating through the stars. So these are, these two, that creative energy and those inspirations that were brought together is the fun part. That's the creative, that's the fun, like that. I love that part. And so to be able to share it with the world and it have an actual message behind it is the most fulfilling feeling. The last part is, people pay hard-earned money for it. It's like you said, musicians, like they create this thing from their soul. They went through a breakup and all of a sudden they create this song and they go, clear across the world and people are singing the lyrics. It's like, whoa, like this is just, and I get the same feeling in apparel. Like people put it on, they're like, I wore that shirt and it made me feel a certain way. And it's like, that's what you was aiming for. Right. So.
Yeah, when you see one of your shirts or accessories out in the wild, and you're like, dude, that's mine. That's me.
That's
That's
and you
us.
knew why, and you know why you created it. You knew when you created it. You knew like what was the inspiration behind it, right? And
Yeah.
that part right there is why you do it. You know, I got a package coming your way, Dom. Don't worry, I got you, my boy.
Thank you. Now, I do want to ask, as far like, it's kind of cool. You created probably, I would imagine, some sort of limited edition Melrose collection.
Yep.
For your partnership with us, Forum by Beta on Melrose, and the fact that you're able to turn it around really quickly is pretty gnarly, and it just speaks to your work ethic and your company's ability to do things like that. That makes these really fun products and apparel to not only tell a story, but just, yeah, dude, it's just cool. I can't even express it. Like, it's just cool.
Yeah. No, no, I appreciate that. And like I said, you guys gave us the opportunity to be able to distribute the product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for it to be on Melrose. And not only that, you guys are in Houston and Austin and Chicago, Caesar's Palace, Palo Alto. These are like key locations in which now our inspiration will be distributed among so many different people, so many different lives, and especially what's going on now. Don, we talked about this earlier this week. With so much going on, within humanity in general. My goal is this is the time that creatives step up and create things, right? Whether it's music, whether it's apparel, whatever it is, to bring us together, because at the core of what Island Ave it's inclusiveness. Because that's what my brother stood for. That despite whatever name he had in the street, he was very inclusive of all different ethnic groups. And so that's what I believe what we bring to the table as a people, especially as a people, as a Polynesian people. And people have been to Hawaii and they go, oh my God, I felt the aloha spirit in the Pacific. But that's who we are as a people, of being inclusive of everyone. It's so family driven, right? And you're Indian as well, same thing. Like, we're so family driven, right? And so we want to be able to share the ohana with the rest of the world, and through Island Ave, that's what we're doing.
That's awesome.
We got more similarities than differences. I tell you guys that all the time. Like, man, and they'll see it tomorrow by the different demos that we bring out here, and it's different people from various ethnicities that again they just connect with Island Ave, and that's the beauty behind it. That was the goal from the beginning, to inspire all, despite race.
Now, what are you most proud of since launching your brand?
Oh man,
I feel like that's a loaded question, but
yeah, no, but it's a great question, because any question I could just go on and on, as you can see now. I think the most proud of that is how we responded to adversity, right? Because there's been plenty of times where we was like, man, do we still want to do this? But I truly believe in the vision, playing the long game, of staying in the game. It always goes back to staying in the game, right? And wifey and my son is tuning in now, and they knew what we had to go through with just a small team, but a vision. And I just say, if we stay in the game, we're going to start to get these strides, right? We're going to start to get these wins as we keep going. But the goal is to stay in the game, do whatever it takes to stay in the game. And so that's, I think, been the most inspirational part and the most rewarding part, is because think about it. If we checked out a year ago, I wouldn't be talking to you. You know what I mean? Like, but we're here. And I believe through Beta and through the Forum, like, we're going to disrupt retail. And I told Ian that. I told Ken that. I said, we want to ride that wave with you guys. Let's disrupt retail together, because of your guys' tech connection, right? Of being able to have that data, being able to understand the customer, and having that customer experience, that unique customer experience. And we talked about me wanting to, run the podcast at all the different doors throughout the United States. And we just take this show on the road,
Exactly.
Take the inspiration on the road, on my, my Gary V. Rogan tip. Like, I'm down, I'm ready.
Road trip,
right? Let's go.
Now, before I let you go, one of the big questions I wanted to ask you was, as an entrepreneur, you've been in the game for, at least this particular game, for 6 years now. You've gone through a lot of things in life, but what advice would you give for up and coming, founders or owners, co-owners of businesses, especially in the apparel business, with everything that's going on? What would be that big piece of advice that you'd give them to learn from or to grow from?
It's been the same ever since I started, right? First off, make sure that you find a business that you're very passionate about. Everybody knows that, right? But once the honeymoon phase is done, the question becomes, do you know the business model? Okay? So once you found the passion, you're happy about it, you do it for free, okay? Then the second thing is study the business model. How are you going to make money in this business? Not only that, do you have a competitive advantage in that business that you could bring to market? Because when the tide starts to turn and you start getting punched in the face, the question becomes is, do you have enough bandwidth? Do you have enough intestinal fortitude to get up and keep fighting, right? But if you have the passion, if you understand your business model, you know at some point it's not going to last forever. You pivot and you keep on going. For instance, the whole mask thing. As soon as it hit, everybody in apparel got into the mask making business, right? But that's business. You learn how to pivot, right? Yep. So understanding how to adjust. It goes back to football. They tell you that you can determine who's going to win after the third quarter, in the first 3 minutes of the third quarter, because most offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators make adjustments at halftime. Yep. So same thing. You hit a slump. How will you adjust? How will you adjust going forward? What are the adjustments you're going to make if you keep getting punched in the face, right? And I'm just good. Again, I've been blessed to be able to make adjustments and just stay in the game. We keep staying in the game. And that's the goal. At the end of the day, if this is what you're built for, and I don't want to burst anyone's bubble because nowadays everybody's a rapper, entrepreneur, graphic designer, everything. And some people are just all in one, right? Yes. But the question becomes is, at the end of the day, will you stay in the game when you get punched, and how do you respond to adversity? Warriors respond. Warriors rise and respond. And that's what Island Nav, at the core of what Island Nav is, that's what it is. Being able to respond to extreme adversity, believe in the goals, and keep on pushing forward.
I love it.
Once again, Dom, I could go on and on. As long as this phone doesn't die, we could keep going on and on.
Yeah, absolutely. No, bye-bye. Dude, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Everybody, this is Favai. He is the owner, I should say co-owner technically, but the founder of IslandAvenue. And we are going to debut them tomorrow at our Forum by Beta shop in West Hollywood off of Melrose. So please pop in, check it out. We are running a special promotion in store tomorrow, or for the next 5 days, right?
Yeah, next 5 days, come in only in store. Promo code is Melrose. You get 15% off. We're launching online. It's a pre-order system, so the both collections will be online and in store. So these are the only two places you can get it. Come by, again, social distancing, wear a mask, but please, if you're in the area, come by. We got some great surprises, some great guests. That's going to probably be outside because there's this whole, one go in, one go out. But either way, again, you know how it is with Island Ave event. It's only good vibes. It's only good vibe, family vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, check out the store. It's a great store. We give a lot of really great one-on-one personal attention. Right now we're doing one customer per narrator that's working there. So typically we'll allow about 2 customers in at a time. But definitely great, worthwhile. Check out the product. It's amazing. I love it. It's it's fun, it's fresh, and it's real. And what I love of the fact that you've created this limited edition collection for our Melrose store with Forum by Beta.
And we want to do that. We want to do that with every location. That's what we're going to do. We're going to launch Island Ave, and then we're going to have some custom pieces for every location. 8406 Melrose Ave, corner of Melrose and Orlando. We'll be here between 2 and 4. Come by, say hi. Like I said, it's about to be lit.
Yeah, I love it. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Again, this is Domingo bringing you another edition of Go Live by Beta. Again, special thanks to Favai for joining me today. Again, check it out. Forum by Beta, Island Ave. We'll see y'all there. All right, y'all.
Peace and love.
Have a good weekend. Bye, y'all. Bye.